and Joe was ripping me last night about how you know, I'm a blogger and I'm missing all the news stories and the things that are, you know, going wrong and the things that are falling short through the cracks. And it's just like, this is not why I'm here. I'm here to have a good time. I'm here to blog about the great stuff that's happening. And it's really just been fantastic. And so again, much like the Intellivision panel earlier in the day, I'm just going to say here's the madness, mayhem, and other adjectives about crazy Classic Gaming Expo stories, and let these guys go. So, your panel, guys.
Why am I here? So, you know, always trying to innovate and keep things fresh, we decided, why don't we talk about CGE or take questions if anybody really cared about what, you know, what goes on behind the scenes, that type of thing. It's been 10 years now. I would like to thank, and we've done it at the auction, but I would like, you know, you guys are thanking us, but we need to thank you because you're really the reason that the show is a success when we're coming out year after year. So how about another round of applause for everybody who came to the show. We don't really have any kind of game plan up here. We just figured, you know, why not answer some questions, tell some stories, that type of thing. Just a brief rundown on the history of the show. Back in 1998, myself and another gentleman, Keita Aida, hooked up with another gentleman called Rich Tsukiji. Rich had run some shows back in the 80s called World of Atari. And Rich is affiliated with Best Electronics, they're friends, and they came up with the idea of doing another show called World of Atari, and let's see what we can do with it. So Keita and I joined up with Rich. Rich did all the, you know, management stuff. We were just helping out the museum, guest speakers, and that type of thing. So we didn't have a whole lot of involvement. And the show was pretty good. It was at the Boardwalk Hotel on the Strip. It's no longer there. And it was a good turnout for a first event. I don't know, a couple hundred people. So we had a lot of fun with it. The problem we had was that the following year, he wanted to, the person running the show, Rich, wanted to make it into I guess a mini E3, which a lot of people have had that ambition over the years, and Classic Gaming would just be one aspect of it. And we also had issue with the fact that World of Atari, you know, is a limited thing when we're all into all Classic Gaming. So at that point, Rich had wavered back and forth about even doing a show, and Keita and I just branched off and decided to take it upon ourselves to start Classic Gaming Expo. And it's been a learning experience for 10 years. We still don't have the formula down pat, you know. We're still last minute with everything we do, half-assed, you know, that type of thing. But we've managed to keep it going somehow for 10 years. And who knows what the future holds. I hope we'll be back again next year. So after that, real brief, 99, we had Sean Kelly joined up with us. Sean was at World of Atari, and he came back in 99 and helped us out. And then the following year, Keita kind of left the scene, and Joe joined up. So, and we've been going strong ever since. So that's really a good start. Maybe I'll turn it over to Joe and let him talk a little bit, and then we'll get to Sean and we'll do some questions.
What's up, folks? I took a few notes, although I don't really know why I bothered. This is all pretty natural for us. You know, John, you've seen John standing up there barking out auctions, you know, the last couple of years. I guess, you know, if I had to talk about history, I wasn't at the World of Atari show. I don't even remember what happened that year, but I had known these guys for years through Digital Press, which is our little organization. In 2001, I get this phone call saying, we got a guy back now, would you be interested in joining up with Classic Gaming Expo? You know, I had known John and Sean for a while. It was like a no-brainer. I was happy to help out. And what's really been interesting over the years is that we're so different in personalities that the complement of the three of us together always seems to work out well. There's always a 2/3 decision. I mean, a perfect example, we had to hire a spokesmodel for the auction. So we actually sat there and looked over pictures of 15 girls. And yes, no, yes, no, yes, no. You know, I think I'm a good judge of this kind of thing, but I was overruled. and if you were here, you can see that I was clearly wrong and the right decision was made. So that kind of thing happens pretty much all the time.
The other aspect of that is that we'll take it one step further. If one of us feels strong enough about something, he can even overrule the other two. You know, the other two will back on. If the other two guys feel or can tell that the one guy feels strong enough about, you know, any particular issue, they'll let the one guy win. You know?
The perfect example of that is when we were still down at the plaza at Fremont Street, Joe and I thought it'd be a great idea that grab one of the two of the girls that were handing out flyers and have them be booth babes and run around scantily dressed in the show floor, and yet Sean had the sense to, you know, think with his head and say, no, that might not be good for a family show. So.
Yeah. Or how about this one? I don't know what year we started with 8-Bit Weapon, but this is a good example of one person thinking it was a good idea. I don't know if Seth contacted me or if it was just my bright idea to bring entertainment into the show. It just seemed like after attending E3 so many times that we were kind of bland. And Seth, you know, materialized at that point. I'm like, this guy's music is really cool. Let's try it out. It was kind of different from the atmosphere, and these two guys weren't really up for it. John was a little, and Sean was, doesn't sound like a good idea at all.
I didn't like it at all, but, you know, it's a perfect example. Joe was absolutely right.
So, you know, that's the way it rolls here. So I guess I'll turn it over to Sean, and I want to say this. In 2005, these guys had given me this little MVP award because I stepped up and did a little extra work. I mean, at the time, I was working in a boring office job where I had nothing but computer, you know, just sitting there in front of the computer. And I was able to sort of, you know, dual task by doing CGE work while I was at my other job. So it was really easy, but, you know, things have changed a lot. I left that industry, decided to open my own game store, and, you know, busy all the time, never in front of the computer. And yet, Sean stepped up, picked up, you know, all the stuff that I had done, all the stuff that, you know, we'd even designated and given out in the past, and I think even went beyond what we would normally do in the show to make this year happen. So with that, I'll turn it over.
Thanks. Well, that's exactly how it works. You know, we all have real jobs. We all have families. John and I both have kids. You know, sometimes you just can't make time for this kind of thing. So you know, there's three of us, and you know, one or the other two will pick up when, you know, one guy just doesn't have time to do it. And, you know, frankly, if there was only two of us, we wouldn't be here today. Like I said, in 2005, if it was just John and I, there wouldn't have been a show. 2007, I had to pick up a little bit of slack. You know, just the way it worked. A funny story about in fact, Keith told the story the other night about the whole World of Atari Classic Gaming Expo thing. In '98, you know, I wasn't really officially involved. I was kind of trying to help out on the side because it sounded like a cool idea. So I contacted Keith Robinson to come to World of Atari. And he said, well, no. As soon as you want to have World of Intellivision, we'll be happy to show up. You know, that was one of the driving forces behind changing the name to Classic Gaming Expo in '99, because and I was actually one of the driving forces behind changing that name because you know, World of Atari is great, but it's not just about Atari; it's about classic games. So that's about all. I mean, you know, we could sit here and rattle off a bunch of stories. You know, you read some of them in the. Yeah, Scott, I'll take care of you later. Scott's back there heckling me. But we could rattle off stories. We wrote some of them in the program. But you know, we kind of thought it would be cool if any of you guys have any questions as to, you know, stories that you've heard, or you know, how things are done, or you know, whatever. You know, that we take whatever questions you had and be happy to answer them to the best of our ability. Good.
How do you guys define the term classic, and how does that help shape the contents of the show?
That's evolving. You know, like any other aspect of classic gaming, with regards to the show, that's evolving, and it's we may have our own areas of expertise, and we may all be, you know, much better in pre-Nintendo. But if you look at the museum, it's just how it's put together. We have guys pick up the slack where we can. You know, the Intellivision section, you know, none of us, I like to consider myself an Intellivision collector, but Chris Nyman, you know, he puts me to shame. So why put my stuff on sale? We have, or not on sale, on display. So we have Chris come in and do 10 times better than what I could. The same thing goes, you know, Nintendo. We don't really know very much about Nintendo. I mean, you know, little bits here and there. I mean, we're not, you know, we're not idiots, but you know, we have people filling the Nintendo section. And as gaming and classic gaming is evolving, what becomes Classic, you know, we're going to have people pick up the slack with the PlayStation 1 or whatever.
I think also part of it you'll see is in the vendors and as well as in the museum, 5 years ago, you probably wouldn't have seen any Nintendo. I think we kind of limited ourselves to Atari and the television, Coleco, and older stuff like that. And obviously the natural progression now is as the show moves on and technology moves on, there are a lot more classic or orphan systems or older systems that are starting to take shape. And if you look at the exhibitor floor, you'll see there's a lot of Nintendo compared to years ago.
What's the craziest after-party story you guys have?
Those records are sealed.
Yeah. Did you read the Jalapeno Man story in the program? I mean, there's no question that the first party that we ever crashed was the best after party that we've been to, and we try to duplicate that every year by having bigger and better things at the parties. But there's something about that element of surprise that first year when we had come off of an alumni dinner, which we host on Friday night for our guests, and we were looking for something to do. Obviously, we're standing up there for a while, drinking away, completely blasted, and it's time to do something fun, right, now that we're done. So we got this bright idea, let's drag along as many people as we can. We have alumni, and we had just various guests and people who were helping us out. And everyone was looking for something to do. We heard there was a party up in room, who knows what, 212, somewhere up there. So we headed up with this giant train of people. And this seemed like the right door, right? Let's try it. We knock, and I don't know if Chris is here, but I saw Chris breathing. There he is. I saw Chris for the first time, I think today, from that moment in '99 where we knocked on the door. We opened it up, and is this where the CGE party is? And I see this face just sort of creaking out through the door, look a little sleepy. Yeah, this was the, BAM! That's all we had to hear. John, I mean, you've never seen the human version of Kool-Aid Man before. Yeah! Entire train of people flying into the room. Chris probably got knocked on his ass as we stormed in. I mean, you can tell we were walking in there, there's a guy laying on the couch, all the game systems had been shut down. It was obviously, the room was ready to be cleaned up, certainly wasn't ready to be populated again. So, we sort of took it upon ourselves to turn systems back on, eat the entire hoagie that was left behind, and, start the party up again. They were great sports about it, too. They didn't chase us out, they didn't, they sort of joined in on the fun. I guess they weren't really ready to end it after all. Sean, at that time, Sean would never drink, but we had somehow coerced him into having a few drinks with us, and he was a real somber version of Sean. Like he wasn't moving around too much. He was sitting there on the couch, and as we're tearing through this hoagie, John gets this jalapeno off the hoagie, and just like, for whatever reason, puts it on top of his cap. So just sitting there like that. So, he doesn't even know it's there, and we're laughing at him, and, he's just sort of out of it. At some point during all that, there was a DEF CON convention going on in the same hotel, and they were right across the hall. So, naturally, our door is open, their door is open. I took a walk over to see what's going on over there. It looked like they had a party that was kind of wrapping up, too. So I walked in, and I'm like, hey, you guys want to come over? We got some Atari, systems going on. We got incredible Jalapeno Man sitting around. I'll never forget this girl, this spiky-haired girl with all kinds of piercings. Are you having a party? So, yeah, come on over. So, the room wasn't crowded enough. Now we've got, all these kids with the crazy hair and the goth clothes, and obviously up for a good time. And we throw the systems on. We're showing them how to play combat, and we're all into it. And the girl walks over to Sean and she goes, "Do you always wear a jalapeno on your cap?" It's good to hear you guys laugh about it, because I'm not even sure why that's funny. Not the visual of it happening, just sitting there like, incredible Jalapeno Man.
Something too, a lot of the stories we have, or could tell you, you probably wouldn't laugh, but it's one of those things you had to be there. And something else I remember, going back to that same party, they had this giant hoagie that was, 6-foot heroes that was cut to little tiny pieces, which I hate because they, you know. And Sean and I are completely obliterated standing there, to the point where like we just look at each other and start laughing our asses off. And I picked up a piece of the sandwich, and I went to take a bite, and the meat shot from the other end on the floor. I threw it down. I grabbed another one.
No. That was the meat shot on the floor, but he didn't know it. So he was eating the sandwich. He said, "What the hell? There's nothing on it."
And I just remember him standing there looking at me, like losing his mind.
I got a question. Have you seen Van Burnham in the past few years at the convention?
Yeah, we have, actually. She came in 2004 to the San Jose show with her husband. They came very low key. We didn't know she was coming, and she came in, she did her thing, and she left. Yeah, we thought she might be here this year, but I haven't seen her. Honestly, I don't think I would even recognize her in 2004 if anyone had pointed her out to me.
Van Burnham is the author of Super Cake. He had a print book published in 2001.
Right,
Mhm.
right. Like that?
So what was the #1 reason to come back to Vegas from California? Was it the lack of nightlife after the fact? Or
It's part of it. Yeah.
all the crickets is just loud and everything shut down?
The way that these things work, the better the hotel, the more expensive it is. And the way that the hotels offset the expense, they require you to fill a certain amount of rooms. And actually it's room nights. Here our requirement was 514 we had to fill. We didn't make it. In California, in Burlingame, we were at the Hyatt Hotel, and it was a really nice place. I don't remember what the requirement was, but we didn't even touch it. I mean, we couldn't come close. And the problem is that in California, you know, the idea behind going there in the first place was that there's a much bigger local collecting crowd. You know, so we thought we would get all these extra local people. Then we would have all the people who were flying in, so we would get a bigger crowd. We thought we'd get more alumni because it's in the Silicon Valley, where a lot of those guys still live. The problem that we ran into is that we lost a lot of people who were flying into Vegas just because it was a cool place to hang out. So we got a bunch of local people at the show. Nobody was taking home hotel rooms because they were just going home at night, and we couldn't meet the room requirement. Not to mention the fact that there's nothing to do. In San Jose, they roll up the streets at 9 o'clock. I mean, there's nothing going on. So it's really just got to be Vegas. There's something to do here 24/7, and we don't. I mean, the show runs what 8 to 10 or 6 to 8 hours a day, and after that, I mean, there's got to be something to do. It's just in Las Vegas is just perfect for that, and we get all the people that are using this as part of their vacation, and it turns out that the alumni that we thought we were going to get in California, we did get extra alumni, but a lot of the alumni told us, hey, we like to go to Vegas, so it wasn't as much of a draw as we thought it was going to be going to California, but we don't necessarily regret trying it. It was worth the effort.
So is it a pretty safe bet that we're going to be out here in Vegas for the foreseeable future?
Yeah, we won't go back.
I promise you we won't go again. I remember we were talking about the alumni and everything, and that was our intent. We said, oh, geez, this is where the industry was born. How could we not have 1 million people come to the show, all these locals? Probably 1 out of every, in our warped demographic numbers that we have. Yeah, 1 out of every 2 people is probably interested in classic games in California, But obviously, we had more locals and we lost the fly-ins and the vacationing people. And I remember San Jose that night during the day, downtown was a ghost town.
I remember in San Jose, I forget what day it was. It was Friday. I think it was Friday afternoon at about 4:30 in the afternoon on a Friday. I literally stood in the middle of the street outside the San Jose convention. In Chicago, I would be killed in 3 seconds. But in San Jose, there's nobody there. I mean, I'm standing in rush hour on Friday afternoon, and there's no car.
Yeah, I think that's where they filmed that movie 28 Days, where the guys walking. But it's true. And I remember Alan Miller, the alumni, one of our alumni, saying, he says, yeah, it's all right, but I have to go home at night now. I can't, you know, I can't hang, so, and honestly, we started asking people, we were asking you guys and the alumni, and pretty much, I would say 95% of everyone we asked said Vegas, that's where we wanted, so. We listened, you know, and from here, the only place we're going is out of business, so we'll be here as long as we last.
Did you start taking requests like on the second year, or did you just say, you know, we'll try it again 2 years going, or did you get all the input on the first year and say we're gonna still come back here the second year anyway?
Well, when we went to California.
Because you guys are after 2 years, right?
Yeah, we just figured San Jose wasn't the right place to be. So again, trying to regain some of that audience of vacation people. Well, if we go up to Burlingame or San Francisco, they could go into San Francisco at night and go to Fisherman's Wharf or whatever, you know, spend time in Alcatraz, you know, whatever. But even that didn't really pay off the way we had planned. And it's really, when it comes down to it, there's no place like Vegas.
I mean, just out of curiosity, how many in a place like New York City? I mean, that would be a step up in California, in my opinion.
Well, again, we get into costs, you know.
Okay.
I live in New York, so I can tell you.
Yeah.
Forget it. You know? not to mention that I know Joe would not survive another cross-country road trip with Scott. We love all of our countries, you know. So yeah, that's the problem with that. It's all out here now.
Yeah, I'm in Chicago. I mean, and you know, Chicago is pretty centrally located. It's readily, you know, one of the busiest airports in the world. You know, you can get flights there, you know, pretty cheap. But you know, the other problem, in addition to cost in Chicago, is unions. You know, we're small. I mean, we can't afford to pay union electricians. We can't afford to pay, you know, unions to move, you know, stuff in and out of our exhibit hall. So we have to go where they'll let us do it ourselves. And in Chicago, you don't do anything non-union. It's not allowed.
Yeah, it's one of the things I don't know if you know. Like in the main exhibit hall, we're very hands-on. So like the pipe and drape that's in between the booths, we set all that up ourselves. We just have it delivered. We spent Thursday in there with our team of people, and we set it up. And, you know, we move tables if we have to, make adjustments, whatever we have to do. Hell, at the plaza, we were running our own phone lines, you know, because they were a little run down on the facilities there. But, so, you know, we could never really afford. But we found out when we did E3, I don't know if most of you know, last 3 years we did an exhibit at E3, a history of video gaming exhibit, and we had to pay for our own electric. I mean, they comped us the space and whatnot, but we still had to pay for the union and the electric and that, and it was thousands of dollars for something that we had no way of generating revenue back, you know. So it was tough. Yeah.
Do you hoard ROMs?
Indeed.
I currently have 242 unreleased 2600 games you've never seen.
None of which Matt Reichert knows exist.
No, we don't hoard ROMs. Any ROMs, I don't even think we have any anymore, but we usually release them. Yeah, maybe we held on to it so we could release it as a show. Sean might have one or two, or, you know, I won't say we don't have stuff that maybe, but, you know, we're talking 1 or 2 ROMs, and most likely it's a situation that we were entrusted with it on the condition that we not give it out, you know. I think Sean with the Blue Sky Rangers, you know, he might have some of their ROMs, but, you know, Keith Robinson, you know, there's licensing, there's copyright, all these issues, so, no, we don't. We try, and if you look on the CGE site over the years, I mean, we've certainly made ROMs available on the digital press site. We've made them available whenever we can, you know. Anything else gonna take on that? Chris?
About the alumni, can you talk about any people who you've tried to invite and you can't get them here?
What about a million of them, man?
What about the one guy who actually got mad at us? I think it was a CBS guy or something. He stopped.
We have a list of alumni that, you know, we try to keep their updated contact information so we can get in touch with them year after year. And that's hard too, because, you know, even though we're friendly with a lot of them, some of them it's a little uncomfortable saying, well, I need your address and your home phone and your cell phone. well, other than just an email. So emails bounce and they change and whatnot. And there was a gentleman, Bob Curtis, who, there's actually a couple that don't want to be contacted. But Bob Curtis, the funny story is we emailed him, and our emails are always very, dear Mr. Curtis, we'd love you to come to the show. Given your work at CBS Electronics, you're a true legend in the industry, blah, blah, blah. Basically, we're souping him up a little, try to get him out here. But we honestly feel that way too. We would like these guys to come and talk about what they do. And he wrote us back and he's, please stop contacting me about, your nostalgia. It was a little pretty mean, your nostalgia trip, and you're making money off of people's nostalgia and this and that. So we crafted this response, and we can assure you that, dear Mr. Curtis, we're sorry you feel that way, but I can assure you we haven't made a dime off of this. As a matter of fact, we'll probably end up divorced or something, from all this. We've never taken money out of CGE, the whole just response to let him know that, that's not what it's about. And he came back again, he's like, what will it take for you to stop emailing me, So I don't know if he actually emailed him again, just to say, okay, we'll stop emailing. Sorry. How many times was I asked you? But as you know, we've had some good alumni over the years. I really wish we could get them all at one show all together. But we've had Nolan Bushnell and we've had Ralph Baer, and we still have that hope of one day them playing Palm, but we can never coordinate that.
We had that going one year, didn't we?
Yeah, and then it fell through. We've had Steve Wozniak out in California, and actually Steve was going to come again this year, but something came up at the last minute, which was unfortunate. Al Alcorn, and we've had quite I think, an illustrious group of alumni over the years, some real major players. But there are other people out there we'd like to get. I was in contact this year with Ray Kassar from Atari, and I had hopes of getting him out here, and I'll never rule it out. I'll keep trying, but he wasn't unreceptive to the idea. It just a lot of them is a small scheduling thing. So
a lot of these people are afraid in some ways. I mean, some guy contacting them out of the blue. There's some guy that they don't know, asking about things they've done 25 years ago. I remember one story at the Plaza the year we had Jim Heather. I walked up to him in the hallway, and I don't remember how I knew what he looked like. I hadn't met him yet, but I don't remember how I knew it was him. But I walked up to him and said, "Hey, Jim Heather." He says, I don't think he was kidding, but maybe he was. But he said, "Are you from the IRS?" No. But, not only that, like John's famous for his ways of approaching people. He'll walk up to some guy completely out of the blue and say, "Hey, you did the artwork for Hero on the 5200 version." The guy just looks at him like he's a psycho. Even just contacting him an email, a lot of them are hesitant to start talking about things because they think it's kind of weird that somebody would, nobody's talked to them about this in 20 years, then out of the blue we're inviting them to parties for no reason in Las Vegas. And, they're a little hesitant, so it takes a little warming up, and that's our motto, I guess, is that if we can get them to one show just to see that we're not completely psycho, we're a little psycho, but not completely psycho, then we'll get them back. And most of the time we do. There aren't too many that we will only get for 1 year. And even if they can't make it a following year, they'll say, "Hey, we appreciate the edit, we just got something going on,
That's one of my favorite stories. The guys from Skyworks, David Crane, Gary Kitchen, actually there's a bunch of guys that work with them. John Van Ryzen, who did Hero, and another guy, Roger Booth, who worked with U.S. Games. I think Dan Kitchen is there now. So there's, it's Alan Miller was with them. It's a little incestuous thing with these guys working together all these years. So they had emailed me and said, "Okay, yeah, we're coming. It's Gary, it's Dave, and it's Bill Wentworth." And I said, "Oh, okay." And I just, it didn't even click at the time. And okay, maybe Bill Wentworth is one of their guests or something. And I happened to be in my garage. I had one of stock of stuff. I had the 7800. I forget what they gave me. I'm a little slack after all these years, but I think it was 7800 skateboarding or something like that, super skateboarding. And I happened to look at it, and it says graphics by Bill Wentworth, or the art, for the cover. So when I filed it in memory, when he came to the dinner, hey, David, oh, this is Bill Wentworth. So I did one of these, and it was a total setup. And I said, Bill Wentworth. I said, aren't you the guy who did 7,800 super skateboarding graphics for the box? Well, he did one of these, like, yeah, that's me, But it's a funny story that we surprised these guys. And it's always a lot of fun. Anybody else?
The way that the Skyworks thing has worked out, not just Skyworks, but a couple of the other companies. I think we found Alan Miller. It's not that the guys at Skyworks didn't know where he was, but they kind of got together through meeting or the dinner at Classic Gaming Expo, and now several of those guys have gotten together and they're all working together again. Same thing with Digital Eclipse. Digital Eclipse has always been a big supporter of our show. They always got guys out here, and several former Atari people are working at Digital Eclipse now, making games again, and they all hooked up, by meeting here at Classic Gaming Expo. And that's, one of the things that, all the alumni come here at their own expense. We don't pay any of their airfare or hotels or anything like that. They all come at their own expense, and the way that we try to repay them for that is the Friday night dinner. We have that every year. All the alumni get together. We feed them, and believe me, it's no form of repayment. I mean, for what they're willing to do to come out here. But basically, John, Joe, and I, we don't go in there. We just sit outside the room. We let them sit in there. We let them eat. We let them, have a few drinks. We let them shoot the shit. At the very end of it, we'll get in there and we'll give a little speech and say thank you. But then we get the hell out of their way again. And that's they're all getting to hook up again. A lot of them are going back to work together again. Guys that were out of work have been, found employment in these meetings. So. If that's the only way that we can repay them, we take a lot of pride in that.
Anybody else? Most people want questions.
How hard was it to get on Bushnell the first year that you came since I'm show there?
Well, yeah. This could lead to like worms coming out of a can, but it was tough. The first year, we had some issues, and again, we try to be as honest as possible without getting into too much issues, but we had some issues with some people who I think early on, there was a plan for no one to come to CGE Expo. I think it was 99 or 2000, and that was a pretty definite plan, and some things fell out of place, and I think he got some bad information about us from somebody as to what we do, and he was, obviously, it was people close to him, and he listened to that. The only thing I can tell you is years later, when he did come finally to CGE Expo, and that was, I think, our last year in Vegas in 2003, he made a comment to us, I don't know why I didn't come out here sooner. I shouldn't have listened to the people who told me, about you guys.
People who are no longer employed by him.
Right. That's true. So, there was some issues, but a lot of guys, we email Nolan each year. Sometimes he responds to us, sometimes he doesn't. He's a very busy man, and U-Wink and other things. There's a lot of them are, and if they're free, usually they'll get back to us and try to do something.
This is my first year in Las Vegas, and I know you moved it out here and you plan to stay here, but I've heard some stories that it was better off the strip. Are you intending to stay on the strip next show, or?
What do you mean by better in what way off the strip?
Well, the other
Cheaper?
hotel was cheaper and nicer.
Well, I wouldn't say so. You've been to the plaza,
One year at the plaza, I got up in the middle of the night to go to the bathroom, and it looked like I left a sock in the doorway. As I got closer to it, it moved off on its own. I put a glass around the sock. It was a bug. I've never seen anything like it before. It looked like something from the Paleozoic era. No, I don't know what it was. I actually refused to sleep alone in that hotel. Like, you guys, we gotta get a suite.
Well, the plaza may, the one thing about the plaza, one thing about, not even the plaza in particular, it's, as you go further downtown, is we don't have to fill the rooms. There was no hotel room requirement for that meeting space there. So, yeah, the hotel is older, it's a little bit more run down, and it has giant prehistoric bugs in it. But it's something that we can afford. We can only, this place costs a bundle of money to have the show here, and we might make it, we might not, as far as paying all the bills. But the only thing that we require of Classic Gaming Expo, and like John said, we've never taken a dime for ourselves. We don't take any money. We get no payment, and we're lucky if we get the show to pay our airfare out here. But it has to pay for itself. If we have to start putting in thousands of dollars personally every year to keep the show going, it won't go. It's as simple as that. So if we can stay in a hotel like this and do that, absolutely, it is not a problem at all. And I hope nobody takes it as us threatening, buy rooms that we're going to close out. We're not. We love having the show, but it just has to be able to pay for itself. And if that means going to a hotel like the Plaza, which we would rather not, we'd rather have the show than not have it. It's as simple as that. So we end up at the Plaza next year or 2 years from now or whatever, or not even the Plaza in particular, but a hotel similar to the Plaza. Come stay at the Mirage or MGM Grand. We don't have to fill rooms at places like that. But I'm not saying we're going to the Plaza. We still haven't figured out the financials here. But if that's what it comes down to, then we'd rather have the show than not.
Yeah, the other thing is, like at the Plaza, I kept hearing about the escalator was always broken. So that was a big complaint. I don't know why. That was like a sore point for people. But I guess if you're lugging your booty back to your room and the escalator is shot, could be a problem. The other issue is that we have to find that balance between what we can afford, as Sean mentioned, and the amount of space that we have. The show has grown considerably over the years. Now, you look at the Plaza, the total square footage that we had was 21,000 square feet. Our main room this year alone is 21,000 square feet. At the Plaza, that included the museum and the speaker room. And we always had issues with the air walls and the people in the speaker room. Some of you might know who have been there. The speaker room, when Tim Arnold would get on the mic and start screaming about Salvation Army, it was drowning out the people in the speaker room. They could hear the coin ops going off. And the museum was considerably smaller. This museum that we have this year is 6,000 square feet, biggest we've ever had.
The Plaza Museum was 2,000, I believe, so this is 3 times the size.
So you figure our ballroom at the Plaza, our main exhibit room was 15,000, now we're at 21. Honestly, to do the show right, we just can't fit there anymore. They don't have any more space, and the facilities can't handle it. So, I mean, believe me, when we scouted out this year, Joe and I were out here in December, I think it was, looking around. We were at other hotels. We checked different areas, different hotels, but we just couldn't find a hotel that would accommodate us the way we needed. Now, Riviera is strictly a convention hotel. It doesn't have roller coasters. It doesn't have all this other stuff. It's in the older part of town. Obviously, this hotel's being torn down around us, and we asked right away about will the Riviera be here in the years to come? But I think it will, is because all they do is conventions, and they're unique in that I think they're the only hotel really in Vegas on the Strip that does strictly. They make, what the gentleman said to me is the other hotels make their money off of gambling, and they make their money off of convention.
And they're very good about collecting the money for those conventions.
Oh, yeah.
We're going to find that out tomorrow. I'll be paying for it.
Anybody else?
Have you ever tried inviting any international alumni, like from Europe or Japan?
No, we don't do PAL here. Not that we're opposed to that. But no, alumni, it's hard because we really just don't have the contact information. Here in the U.S., I have no problem punching somebody's number into the directory. you know, calling them at home and, hi, I'm from Classic Gaming Expo. Well, in the UK, you know, it's not that easy to pull up a UK number or find an email, that type of thing. So certainly, if we're turned on to their contact information, we'll pursue it. But if you have anybody, feel free to send it our way, you know. What else? Way in the back.
I think everybody will find this amusing. I was at the plaza earlier for another event over there.
Complex.
The escalator is still broken.
Yeah, I don't think they'll ever fix that.
They've been waiting on a part since 1972.
Yeah, all right.
It's one of the attractions.
Anybody?
I was just saying in that vein, you know, we could stay at a place where everything was perfect, it's gonna cost you $300 a night.
I'm
We
sorry.
could stay at a place that's perfect, but we're going to each pay $300 a night to stay there.
Right.
So,
Yeah, I mean, we have some issues with what, you know, the way things went down this year with the housing here. We've heard some stories and complaints that the rooms, you know, the rooms are, you know, obviously you can stay elsewhere cheaper, but it was supposed to be attractive enough that we could pull the amount of people. And we heard some stories that people weren't getting a room that they had planned or something like that. So this is all stuff we'll be fighting tomorrow to try and rectify before we have another show here next year. You know?
Your cost is you know, one of the most important things we take into consideration when we're trying to find a location. You know, how much we can get, or what's the best price that we can get for a room for you guys is you know, one of the first things that we ask. And you know, it's like you said, I mean, we can go to the MGM Grand. You guys are going to pay $300 a night to stay there, but we can go if you want. You know, I don't think it'll like that very much.
And you can go to more expensive places, solve problems. I mean, we're at a more expensive hotel, and the first night, the people in the room next to us just decided to keep making noise all night. I mean, they were just playing poker in their own room. And
Was that you?
We called security, and security finally got them to shut up, and then we went down and talked to them and said, is there anything you can do? And they said, well, we can't kick them out, but if you want, we'll move you. And it's like, okay, we've unpacked everything. Sure, you can give us a better, you know, room, so they did that. And now every day when the cleaning crew comes through, we don't get any new towels. We have to call and get them.
If you ever need to like cut down your cost of living, stay here. Slots of Fun, like right across the street.
Oh,
It's
yeah.
like $1 hot dogs.
Are they meat?
The possibility exists.
I got one. If you could stay at the Station Casino Hotel, that would be much more better.
Would it? Yeah.
You probably get a good deal on station, doing something at the station casino probably.
Yeah, but with the Station Casino have the amount of footage that we need.
Yeah, they have like, room, big room. They
Yeah.
do. The Texas one, Texas Station,
Texas
sure.
Station.
And it takes you away from the strip.
Yeah, I was going to say, how far is it from the strip though, right?
Yeah, that's the other issue that,
Palace Station's about half a mile from the strip.
It's scheduled to be torn down too, though.
yeah.
Seriously.
That's the way it does work.
One other thing to consider, you know, with all this talk about moving, is it's because we're constantly moving that there's ever a problem. You know, we're only as good as the process that we have to make things happen. The reason why we've gotten better over the years is because we have such great volunteers that have basically become our union. You know, we've got Don Rogers and Larry Anderson and Albert Keel, Chris Chandler, and these guys, you know, they're part of a team now and understand the process, but when we move, the process changes. How you deal with the hotel changes. The way the rooms are laid out, it changes. So we have to relearn every single time. And the constant jumping around makes it difficult. And that's going to translate to a lesser show. You know, if we're here next year, I promise you it'll be better than this year.
Okay. The other thing too is, you know, I personally feel that the jumping around really didn't help us as far as attendance, you know. Every year, August at the Plaza, you know, Classic Gaming Expo. Now we're in San Jose, now we're in Burlingame, now we're off for a year. And now we're back in Vegas and we're at the Riviera. We really need to find a home that it gets back to the point of, you know, on your calendar, every August in Vegas, you're going to be at the Riviera and the CGE will be there. So that's one of the factors that we also consider is that we need to start building up and making it a regular event. I think one of the magazines I read this year even had us listed as being back in San Francisco. And on the date, oh yeah, CG's back in San Francisco this year. Well, yeah, right. I don't think you're looking for us there, but
yeah, we would love for, you know, towards the end at the plaza, it was like it just kind of ran itself because we had been at the plaza so many times. Does this phone jack work? Oh, John fixed that one last year. It's good. You know, do we have to run a cable behind this rug? No, it's still there from last year. Stuff like that. But you know, like Joe said, here we are at the Riviera. We have no idea. We couldn't even find the ballroom the first day. You know, it takes a little getting used to, and that's what we tell these hotels when we come and talk to them too. You know, we're looking for a home. We'd like to stay at the same place every year, so we don't have to be worrying about relearning everything the next year. But they kind of got to give a little to keep that, and that's the whole negotiation process.
Yeah, not necessarily as organizers, but just as attendees yourself. What's your favorite part of CGE?
There's a lot. The favorite, I'll be honest with you, I think the museum. Yeah. To me, the museum is just a tremendous effort. And it follows in the whole vein of what we feel CGE represents as far as community. CGE doesn't just happen because of the three of us, it happens because of all of us here. And the museum doesn't happen because we have a bunch of stuff, it happens because everybody chips in and brings stuff to the museum, and it's comprised of multiple individuals. And I think that best represents us coming together as a community to help, put on a great show.
Who here hasn't seen John run the auction? I mean, if you've missed the auction, you've got to be here next time. John's show will rival anything else you would see in Vegas. I mean, I don't know what these magicians are doing that they're playing every week, but...
Even Lacage?
Haven't you done that too?
Yes, actually.
To me, that's my favorite part. I mean, the CG on Saturday to me is like, great, we got the job done. We're running the show. But the fun doesn't start for me until that day is over and we get in that auction room. And, obviously most of you have seen it, so I'm sure you understand where I'm coming from.
I'm kind of with John in the museum, but another aspect of it is the people. So much of the classic gaming community is based on, I don't even know if I can pronounce this word, anonymity. That's pretty close. And you don't ever get to put a face to the people that you're talking to. Over the years, I don't know how long it was that I dealt with John over the phone before I actually saw his face, and he looked nothing like what I was expecting. Yeah, I'm sure he had the same thoughts about me. But to me, it's being able to put faces to the deals that you've made and things like that. And I've said to John many times that I don't even want to. It's not that. I guess I shouldn't say I don't want to. I don't even need to organize the show. I just want to go. That's what it's all about. I just want there to be a show. So if nobody else is going to do it, I'll do it. Me, John, and Joe will put it on. But I just want to be able to go. That's all it is for me.
With so many of the new gen systems, the Wii and say Xbox and the 360, having basically shop stores where you can purchase older games, do you see that affecting classic gaming in terms of popularity, maybe a resurgence of such?
A renaissance.
These guys they have gaming stores.
Yeah, this comes up all the time in my store. I kind of look at it as there's two different types of people, and you might overlap in some ways, but there's a type of guy that wants that physical thing in his hand. You can call it a collector if you want, or you can call it a nostalgic person, but you want to see the games lined up on your shelf. You want to be able to take the cartridge out and plug it into the system. There's something about holding the joystick with the one button that beats anything you would ever do on a PC or some simulated Wii controller. And then there's the other guy who likes the convenience. Now I can just click a button, my credit card's charged, and I can play Super Mario on my TV. Both of those are great things to have. And in our cases, I'm sure, at least with Sean and I, we're both. Like, I like having both the games, you know, sitting on my shelf, and I like to be able to have the convenience of playing it whenever I want.
But, have you noticed like an increase in demand since like maybe the Wii came out? Maybe like somebody notices it and all of a sudden, you know what? Now I miss it. Now I want the real stuff. Like maybe an increase in demand in the stores because of this forefront and older gaming for the mainstream.
I really haven't, you know, but my store is, I'm a little different from Joe. Joe is a much more modern crowd than I do. My store is probably 50 to 60% classic gamers. And you know, I use the term classic kind of loosely as far as this crowd is concerned. It's you know, NES, Super NES, Saturn, Sega CD, you know, 1632-bit Dreamcast we do pretty well with. You know, and I sell PS2 and Xbox, and you know, I certainly would never get rid of it. But I have a lot of classic guys, and most of those classic guys, you know, even though, like you say, you may be able to download Mario Brothers on your Wii, you could download all that stuff on your PC for years. You know, the Wii is nothing really new to a computer savvy person. They could have been playing that for years. You just have to have the console. There's something about, you know, sitting in front of the coffee table with the actual console that the Wii's not gonna do it for those people.
Yeah.
On the subject of alumni, have you guys ever considered inviting some of the, you know, big name Apple II programmers, for example, or does that get away from what you're trying to do at the Expo?
It probably gets away a little bit from our focus. Not that we would ever turn any alumni away, but you know, I think a lot of them, they have their, you know, the computer shows are out there. I don't know how many of the computer shows. I know there's Vintage Computer Festival. I don't know how much they do alumni-wise or trying to get alumni, but you know, certainly, like you're referring to Apple II, like the gentleman Jabelli is one of the big names, but I hear he's really hard to get to show up. But we would certainly have them, you know. There's no discrimination just because he did Apple stuff, you know, even though I'm an Atari guy, but it's, you know, the problem is also time. You know, we have probably a list of 300 names that we contact, and most of them, you know, just blow us off, but it really boils down to we got to send out invites to every one of them and follow up, and that in itself takes a tremendous amount of time. If we have contact information, I can assure you we will try to get them, as we had, you know, Steve Wozniak. You know, I mean, aside that from his tie-in to, you know, what he did, you know, in the old days, you know, Apple was a big part of that. So, anybody? Anything? It's your chance. Anything controversial you want to ask? Stories? I had a feeling.
What about Atari?
All right, time's up. What about Atari? Over the years, now how can we do this right? You know, when you collect, and Sean mentioned about, you know, the anonymous aspect of things, dealing online, and you know, it's a lot of times it's the nature of people to compete and to get into issues where they're competing and spending money, and you know, it can get nasty. I'm sure, like anything you would do or any hobby, things develop or whatnot that, you know, it could turn ugly. We had issues with Atari Age, we're not going to lie about it. You know, they I guess broke down over the years our type of relationship that we had. There was a couple of things that occurred. Well, there's a lot of things that occurred, but you know, at this point, I'll be honest with you, I think we could all safely say that Atari Age was almost here this year. We invited them to come back. We even offered them a good deal to come back as a olive branch. We were, you know, time heals all wounds, and one of the things, and again in that same respect, is the online community tends to promote this, I think, you know, competitiveness and constant, you know, showing off of this and that. And You know, personally, speaking for myself, most of you, if you're on the boards, you'll see that I don't really post very much, whether it's on DP or Atari, even though I am on both. I've kind of pulled myself back out of the community to an earlier time when I didn't even really know what the internet was. And I just, not for any particular reason other than I don't have a lot of time, and there's also a lot less aggravation, I feel. So for myself, pulling myself out of the situation was a big part of it. Now, like I said, we've offered some olive branches out there, and they were almost here, and I honestly could state right now, I think Atari will be here next year. So, I don't know if you guys have any other add-on to that.
Anybody who knows the classic gaming community probably knows that John and Kurt Vendel don't get along very well. It's not, and it's not even because they don't like each other so much. I mean, maybe they don't, but you know, if they get together, they're like, hey, what's going on? They shake hands, you know, they get along. It's just because John and Kurt over the years have competed for the same exact thing so many times that, you know, one guy beats the other guy, and you know, and at some point, you know, they're at home, damn him, he got that thing and I couldn't get it. Yeah, the whole thing with Atari started because of something something similar to that, you know. Competing for the same thing or this and that, and you know, I met with Albert at Midwest Classic this year, and you know, first thing I walked up, hey, what's going on? And right then and there, he said, yeah, we're going to try and come out to CGE this year, but you know, it's all about rumors, and you know, but as soon as you get together, everything's cool. You know, there was really whatever the problem was with Atari, it wasn't as big a deal as it was made out to be, and you know, everything's cool.
As B&C Computer Visions came to CGE once or twice a year.
Well, B&C I think has been with us every year except this year. They had some issues that forced them to drop out at the last minute. Bruce's, I believe his daughter, or daughter-in-law is...
his daughter Amber.
His daughter Amber is pregnant, and she's about 7 or 8 months along, but she is... to the point where they had to keep, you know, I don't know if the baby was too big or something, but she had to stay off her feet, and basically, you know, she's bedridden now to the time that the baby comes, right? Am I right, Glenn, with that?
Yeah, and it's our first child.
Yeah, so they were short-handed, and they had some other thing going on where they were going to have to travel to another family event last week. There was no time for them to prepare, so that's why they didn't show this year. But I would. Again, I would expect them to be back next year in full force. Yeah.
I will say on the competition issue they were discussing earlier, I mean, another problem that a lot of people understand is sometimes there's a third party involved who really stirs things up. There was a time when John and Kurt and I were all bidding on some things. In fact, there's one item in the museum that I actually sent the John Russell money for, and he apparently had sold it to more than one of us.
Yeah.
And it's like a race condition, whose money gets there first. And that can make bad feelings. I finally decided that it was not any of these guys was the problem. The problem was the seller, but that really, it can really make some long-standing hard feelings for some people. And I wish I got it, but I just wasn't fast enough, so I just...
That's exactly how it goes, and you know, the people who are selling can often, you know, cause an issue as well, as far as trying to get the most that they can for their product.
But I think that a lot of the bad feelings date from things like that when we were all kind of used by different people.
Sure, absolutely. Absolutely.
When did each of the three of you start collecting?
1879. I mean, if you've read anything that I've ever written, it almost always starts out with, I'm a pack rat. You know, I've collected everything since I was a little kid. My room was always the messy room with stacks of stuff in it, you know. I did baseball cards when I was real little. I did comic books for a while. Once video games came out, I was right onto that. And it really wasn't long after, you know, maybe a year, that I just dropped the comics and the baseball cards, so this is a lot more fun for me. And that was right at the beginning. That was right when games were coming out. I remember driving, or taking back, I was in high school at the time when 2600 came out, and I remember going to, you know, the local Child World, you know, with my parents, and they would buy me Yar's Revenge, you know. I remember that. I remember getting on a bus to get the latest in television game, you know. Wow, Worm Whomper, that looks awesome. So, and because I'm a pack rat, nothing ever gets thrown away. When it doesn't get thrown away, you're either a junk dealer or you're a collector. Depends on what you got.
For myself, I sold, you know, I wasn't a pack rat. I had the systems, and I sold my 2600 so I could buy the 5200 with that awesome stick. Which I probably smashed against the wall, but yeah, I regretted that. But actually, it was about 1987. I was running a bulletin board while I was stationed in Texas, and this guy logs on one day by the name of Jay Hunter, and he starts sending me, you know, he was being friendly, and he starts sending me scans out of all the old magazine articles, and I was piqued by that too. I had a good collection of electronic games, and you know, here was the you know, the Magic cards, say for instance, an ad for that, or the PGP-1, or that type of thing, and so I become going back and forth and talking a little, and matter of fact, the guy who was sitting right there, his name is Don Rogers. For years I called him Jay Hunter, I had no idea, but that was some name he had for, you know, logging on, and so it kind of piqued the interest. And then I guess I had, it was an Antic magazine. There was, someone wrote in asking about, for the Atari 8-bit, there was this device called the Atari 1090XL, and, you know, can you give me some more information? So the guy responded in the letters column, saying, yeah, it was, you know, failed device, never launched it. We have one sitting here, we use it as a doorstop. And so, but something went wrong, some chemical imbalance or something clicked in my head. And I was fascinated. I had to have something like this. And I searched around, and I actually bought one from B&C at the time for $50. I know Bruce is wishing he had it back now. But once I got it, and I was toting it around town, showing everybody, nobody gave a damn. Nobody could care less. I was like the only person who really cared about it. But that's what set me off into motion. And it's never stopped since then.
I guess we could tell the story. So, I think it started between Joe and I that who's the hottest video game Dave? Was it Kimberly, or who was hotter? Was it Kimberly from Space Ace or Daphne from Dragon Slayer? Because, you know, like all geeks, we don't like real women, you know. They need cartoon. Yeah, we wouldn't know what to do. We need cartoon women to fantasize about. So, you know, Joe's stance is that Daphne is better. Mine is that Kimberly is better. So this debate went on for some time, and we happened to be at E3. And we weren't exhibiting that, you know. We were just there, you know, scanning free stuff. So,
yes.
Yeah. So our museum coordinator, Larry Anderson, happened to have the misfortune of being around us, being drunk, and we crashed some party at E3. I forget the company's name. They did that spyware and stuff. Yeah, but they had something up there. There was a little room, and we were drinking. Big surprise. And the bartender was, I remember, he had some signature drink she made called the Purple Nipple. God only knows what was in it, but it was good. So we downed many of them. And I remember asking some guy just walking by, man, he had a phone over, and who do you think is, you know, who do you think is hotter, you know, Daphne or Kimberly? Obviously, the guy has no idea what we're talking about. And we tell you have to pick, you have to pick. Well, I don't even know what, it was again going to one of those things that, you know, you had to be there, because it's really not funny. The only thing funny part about it is, whatever he said made me laugh my ass off, and I ended up spitting my drink into Larry Anderson's face. To this day, he will not let me live down that I sprayed whatever I was drinking into his face, and that's the big debate. So hands up. Let's see. So I'm going to go on John's side. Hands up, is Kimberly the hotter? Let's see hands with Daphne. I've had Kimberly, she's better. Anybody else? Could you tell us anything about your E3 experience with the CGE display there? Any stories or anything?
Sure. It was fun. It was really popular. I think the first year we were there, we won Best of Show in a couple of different places. But
you know, we'd love to do it again, but E3 is no more. So it's, you know, however cool it was, it's, you know, just not something that's going to happen anymore. The display was great. We were going to try and replicate a little bit of it here, but you know, that idea came to us kind of at the last minute, and we didn't end up being able to do that. One of the most popular things that we do there is a timeline of playable system. We had every system in a row, you know, in a timeline fashion, and they were all hooked up, ready to play. It was really popular. People liked it a lot. And we'll definitely do that here next year, but like I said, the idea came to us to do it here a little bit too late, and we weren't able to coordinate it. But that's something that you can see next year. It'll be a lot of fun. Every system from Pong to, you know, Xbox that was, well, no, I don't think we went to Xbox. But I think we stopped at maybe PlayStation 1 or something like that. But they were all playable, and you could go down the line, and we had, you know, a few different cartridges that you could plug into each one. It was a lot of fun. We should probably wrap things up. We just, you know, to wrap people up, why don't you all reach under your seats and see if there's something under your seats. It's a snake, be careful. Reach up underneath and it'll be taped to the bottom of the seat. The flotation device. That's it, you win. Anybody find anything? Bart's got one. I know it looks like this.
8,000.
Bart's got one. And Alan's got one. Who else got the third one? Ah, Dinosaur Dude. That's the third one. You guys win a Stormflex controller, all right? Yay. Thank you everybody for coming, all right? Thanks, guys.